Hello guys, welcome back to the second episode of this series where we look at the nightly games of NHL, look at the highlights, the best plays, and the best storylines. Now yesterday was a pretty big night for the NHL, Elias Pettersson getting a 3-point night, Jonathan Toews getting a hat trick, and a lot of other storylines that we'll get into with this video. Now the first game of the day was Devils versus Oilers. Of course, this was a global series being played in Gothenburg, Sweden. It was a very entertaining game. The Devils ended up winning 5-2, but it was honestly a close game. It was a very interesting game. There was a lot of great plays and a lot of good goals, and overall, of course, I was streaming this game. I was watching it. I had a pretty fun time, and it was a pretty entertaining brawl between both Edmonton and New Jersey. And overall, not a bad game to show off the NHL to fans in Sweden. Of course, you got Connor McDavid, you got guys like Taylor Hall. Great matchup between New Jersey and Edmonton. Of course, Taylor Hall has that revenge against Edmonton a little bit there. So it was a great game, I think, to watch, and for the people in Gothenburg, it must have been a great one to watch live. Now, the next game was between the Montreal Canadiens and the Pittsburgh Penguins, and a surprise finish, actually, in the second game of the season for both teams. The Canadiens ended up winning 5-1, and a pretty big upset for the Canadiens. Again, winning versus Pittsburgh, I think they'd take that every single time. Now, Paul Byron had an amazing night with 2 goals and an assist. He was really fantastic. Had a couple of great goals on Matt Murray. Kotkaniemi was also pretty solid as well. Overall, the Montreal Canadiens didn't look dominant over the Pittsburgh Penguins, but they looked pretty good. And of course, scoring 5 goals, that was a fantastic effort from them. And on the Pittsburgh Penguins side, it wasn't as good to say the least. Yeah, the shots were pretty close, but the Pittsburgh Penguins obviously did not have the scoring touch the Montreal Canadiens did. I think Matt Murray had a pretty terrible game. He had some okay saves, but really he let in a lot of weak goals. And honestly, that Penguins defense did not impress me whatsoever. Letang looked terrible on a couple of his goals. Dumoulin didn't look the greatest. Overall, it just wasn't a great effort from the Pittsburgh Penguins offensively, defensively, goaltending-wise. It was pretty much a failure in all 3 key categories. And with Pittsburgh, there is some concern. And yeah, while it's only the second game of the season, you want to see a better performance from Pittsburgh, especially if they want to be a contender in that Metropolitan Division. Now we got another upset today as the Ottawa Senators win 5-3 over the Toronto Maple Leafs, which obviously is a crazy result, but the Ottawa Senators really got outplayed in this game, and Toronto really had a solid game, but just was not able to win. And of course, there were some key factors for that, which ultimately had the Ottawa Senators winning against the Toronto Maple Leafs. While I certainly didn't expect the Ottawa Senators to win this game, the Ottawa Senators have actually been very good for the Toronto Maple Leafs in the last few years. They've gotten multiple wins, and the Ottawa Senators, obviously not being the best team in the last few years, that is a good accomplishment for them. They've been good against pretty much a few teams, and Toronto is definitely that. So, again, with Ottawa and Toronto, Ottawa really comes to play. Thomas Chabot with likely the best game out of all the Ottawa Senators, having 2 goals and an assist, and that goal against Orjiganov was absolutely filthy. I have him in one of my fantasy leagues, and I cannot be happier. And an amazing game from him, and I've always thought Chabot was underrated, and we could see him not totally fill Erik Karlsson's shoes, but be a decent replacement. He's a solid young guy. I think he'll put up a lot of points this season. The Leafs core actually had a pretty decent night offensively. Mitch Marner got on a goal and an assist. He had a ton of opportunities in the first period. He got a penalty shot, he got a breakaway, but wasn't able to score, so he still had a very decent game while not scoring on a lot of opportunities. Austin Matthews had a goal and assist too. He looked pretty solid. John Tavares looked solid too. Morgan Riley offensively. But honestly, when it came to this game, the offense stuck up for Toronto, but the defense just wasn't there. And there were some key turnovers that led to pretty easy Ottawa Senators goals, namely Morgan Riley didn't have the greatest game. Jake Gardiner was Jake Gardiner, and honestly, the Leafs defense, well, I think was better than what they showed today. It didn't give me too much hope. They gave some bad turnovers on Frederik Andersen's side. While I think he's one of the best goaltenders in the world right now, he certainly didn't have a great game either. While I will give Ottawa Senators the credit for this win, Frederik Andersen just did not bring it tonight or yesterday for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I feel like if he plays better, I don't think Ottawa wins this game. Now we move on to the Battle of Florida, where the Florida Panthers and the Tampa Bay Lightning face off. Now the Lightning ended up winning this in a shootout, but it was a very good game, and honestly the Lightning were very lucky to get out with this win. Now, there was a little bit of a scare for Florida in that second period where Luongo went down. It seemed like he was injured, but we've gotten word that it isn't too serious. At first, it looked pretty bad, but it's looking like it won't be long-term, which is huge for Florida, because if they have to rely on Reimer to be their starter, it's not going to be the greatest time for them. Now, the Tampa Bay Lightning got outplayed for a lot of this game. It ended up going 1-1 in overtime. There was a couple of big saves by both Reimer and Vasilevsky, and into a shootout where the Tampa Bay Lightning scored 2 goals. JT Miller with a flip of the puck, kind of like you'd see in NHL 19, and Kucherov with an absolutely great patient goal on Reimer. The Tampa Bay Lightning winning 2-1 in shootout, but really it is a shootout, so it's not just too much. And for the Florida Panthers, I still like their effort. Vasilevsky had to make 42 saves on the night. He was really incredible, made quite a few great saves. And for the Florida Panthers, they really did all they could. They had 5 power plays, just couldn't score on Vasilevsky. And for me, I keep saying that Vasilevsky will have a better season than last season. People keep saying I'm crazy, but in this opportunity, in this night, he really showed what he was made of. Now, on to the Dallas Stars versus Winnipeg Jets game. Now, you all know that Dallas was my first favorite team, and I really like what happened today. The Dallas Stars ended up winning 5-1 against the Winnipeg Jets. Did you expect that? I didn't expect that. A great result for the Dallas Stars, and honestly, lackluster performance by the Winnipeg Jets defense, offense, and all around. The Dallas Stars first line absolutely crucified the Winnipeg Jets and Connor Hellebuck. Tyler Seguin with 4 goals, 2 assists, and 2 goals. Jamie Benn with 3 points, 2 goals, and 1 assist, getting his 600th point in this game, which is a fantastic milestone for him. Radulov with 3 points, 1 goal, 2 assists. And Spezza actually had a decent game with 2 assists. Good to see him have a good, solid game, and hopefully that's the start of a very good season from him. And honestly, even though there wasn't a ton of depth scoring in this game, I couldn't be really happier with the Dallas Stars' effort in this game. Halfway through the game, halfway through, 30 minutes in, they had 30 shots on goal. They usually don't keep pace with stuff like that. Normal NHL teams don't, but they were on pace to get 60 points or 60 shots versus the Winnipeg Jets. And they honestly had a tremendous effort offensively. Looked very, very good. The Winnipeg Jets defense looked pretty pedestrian, and Connor Hellebuck obviously did not have the greatest game either. And while it was starting to get a little bit closer in the third period, the Jets coming back a little bit in the shots, Ben Bishop was fantastic. He only let 1 goal in, and that was against Kyle Connor, who made an absolute snipe, absolute top corner beauty on him, so it wasn't really his fault either. And Ben Bishop obviously having a great night in goal, which is great to see against a lethal Winnipeg Jets squad. And while I didn't have a lot of faith in Dallas coming into this game, they certainly did prove me wrong. They proved a lot of people wrong. I didn't expect them to win against the Jets. They never win against the Jets, but they did it pretty convincingly our last night, and I couldn't really be happier. It was a great performance, goaltending-wise, defensive-wise, of course, the offense was rolling. Now, a weird game between the Vegas Golden Knights and the Minnesota Wild happened. The Golden Knights winning 2-1 in the shootout. It was a chippy game. It went to the last minute when the Minnesota Wild had the lead 1-0. The Golden Knights scored with Max Pacioretty's first goal of the season, and they head into overtime, no goals, and they head into the shootout. There was no goal after no goal after no goal after no goal, and then Erik Haula, the former Minnesota Wild who was picked up in the expansion draft by Vegas, scores on Minnesota to win it for the Vegas Golden Knights. If that is not a story, I don't know what is, and poor Minnesota Wild fans because they deserve much better. The Vegas Golden Knights were pouring on the shots, I felt. Dubnyk having a great game up until that shootout goal where he kind of put it into his own net, but still, Erik Haula with the goal to win it for the Vegas Golden Knights, and of course Vegas getting their first win of the season, which was much needed after losing their first against Philadelphia. Meanwhile, we had a crazy game between the Chicago Blackhawks and the St. Louis Blues. Chicago winning 5-4 in overtime, but it was a back-and-forth battle between both teams where both teams took the lead and both teams lost it. Let's just say it was not the battle of goaltenders, as Cam Ward and Allen did not have the greatest games on earth, but offense on both sides was pretty good. I mean, a lot of guys like Tarasenko played well for St. Louis, and of course, Jonathan Toews getting, I think, his 5th career hat trick, something like that. He had a fantastic game, and of course, nets the overtime winner to win against St. Louis. But overall, a lot of guys in Chicago had great nights. Guys like DeBrincat really impressed me. Jokiharju looked pretty good. And got on the offense, the defense was okay, but the offense was really what sparked Chicago getting this win. 5-4 in overtime. Of course, the Chicago Blackhawks improved to 2-0 in the season, which is huge for them if they want to make the playoffs, if they want to get close to that. Starting off well is the key to this. And for St. Louis, they got 1 loss, 1 overtime loss, and right now, it's not looking like the greatest start. So for St. Louis, if they want to make the playoffs, they got to get it rolling now. Now, the Arizona Coyotes and the Anaheim Ducks ended up giving us a pretty lackluster game, with the Anaheim Ducks winning 1-0, and My gosh, Arizona. You're making my prediction of you making the playoffs look really, really bad now. The Coyotes ended up getting 40-plus shots. The Anaheim Ducks winning like they did against San Jose. And, of course, the Ducks off to a 2-0 start. Meanwhile, the Coyotes have not scored a goal in their first 2 games. So some concerns for Coyotes and some concerns also for the Anaheim Ducks, who have really not outplayed their opponents at all in these 2 games. Have really gotten smashed, but they've ended up winning, namely because of John Gibson being one of the best goaltenders in the freaking world. Now, the Philadelphia Flyers and the Colorado Avalanche ended up having a pretty decent game here. The Colorado Avalanche winning 5-2 in their game, but it was home to one of the best and funniest goals I think we'll see all season. NHL rookie Vorobyev ended up scoring one of his first goals, and it was a hilarious one. The puck was flipped out of the Philadelphia Flyers zone. It was looking to be icing. Varlamov comes out of his net just a little bit and tries to cover the puck, but then Mark Barberio was thinking that it wasn't icing, and he comes in full blast and then just rams his own goaltender, and he flips out. Varlamov having the puck, it spews all over the place, and Vorobyev was right there. The rookie was set right in front, and pretty much empty net was scored for one of the funniest first goals you'll ever see. But even with that Vorobyev goal, that really hilarious goal, Colorado ended up getting the advantage, winning 5-2, and they had the advantage throughout the whole game. It seemed like they were a much better team. I predicted them to win, so I feel a little bit confident in that. But the Colorado Avalanche had a very solid game. Varlamov was also pretty good, and Elliott was Elliott. Now, for one of the more interesting games, for the last game of the night, you got the Vancouver Canucks and the Calgary Flames. The Calgary Flames winning 7-4, but likely the best story coming out of this is Elias Pettersson had another fantastic night. Elias Pettersson with a 3-point night against the Calgary Flames, getting 2 goals, 1 assist, and 2 one-timers. He was fantastic, and the 2 goals he scored were absolute beauties. Of course, that second one comes to mind. That one-timer was beautiful, and while the Vancouver Canucks come out with a loss, they go for the tank for Hughes, and Elias Pettersson gets 3 points. I think Vancouver Canucks fans should take that. And for the Calgary Flames, the offense was amazing for them. Boudreau, Tkachuk, Monahan, that line was absolutely filthy. They get their first power play goal in the season, finally, after getting a ton of power play opportunities. For the Calgary Flames, it is a success, but allowing 4 goals against the Vancouver Canucks and allowing it to be that close late into the game, it does have some concern for me. For the Calgary Flames, you'd like to see them maybe hold Vancouver to a little bit less goals, but Elias Pettersson was a beast against them. But for the last game of the day, it was certainly entertaining. The Calgary Flames wearing their 3rd jerseys was also a special treat. So for the last game, it was an offensive explosion. Both goaltenders were kind of meh. So I think that was a great game to watch. It was a very entertaining one. Of course, seeing Elias Pettersson do so well was also a very good treat. And for a lot of Vancouver Canucks fans, was very, very good for them. But overall, a very good night for the NHL. A lot of storylines, a lot of things happening today or yesterday, and honestly, it was a fantastic night for hockey. A lot of stuff happened, and a lot of good teams came out with the win, and some bad teams also came out to the win, so I guess it evens it out. But of course, with this series, I also want to hear from you guys. What games did you watch? What games did you think were the best? And what do you think of all these storylines? What do you think of the scores? And what happened in October 6th action in the NHL? But that's going for today, guys. If you guys enjoy, make sure you like and subscribe again. Tell me down below what you think of this series so far, and what do you think about what we talked about in this video. And I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.